Let's talk next about Vodacom, which of course is the market leader here in Southern Africa. Its controlling shareholder, in case you haven't been paying attention for a decade or two, is Vodafone out of the United Kingdom. Well, it's a UK-based global multinational. And that happened because the various partners along the way in Vodacom got bought out and Vodafone stood up and acted as the anchor shareholder. Core operations, of course, are South Africa, where it was the market leader, the first to business back in the 1990s when this industry started here. But of course, it also has businesses in Tanzania, the DRC, Lesotho and Mozambique. Market capitalization is now the largest. It surpassed that of MTN, which we'll talk about a little bit later. 226.9 billion rands. Price to earnings ratio 17.27, dividend yield of 5.21%. Let's put the graph up because it is a really nice looking chart with a little bit of a cool off perhaps at the end there.
Yes, so historically done very well, the leading network in South Africa, almost like the South African equivalent of Verizon, having the best quality network, the widest coverage, first to market with LTE and the widest coverage with data as well. But with that comes risks, and we spoke about the regulatory risk previously. There's a white paper out that speaks to this exact issue about should you give access to the network layer and all the capex that has been spent, are you going to get a return on that? And is broadband access a almost basic human right, and therefore you can't charge too highly for that access?
So I hear you, and we know that the Government Department of Telecommunications is busy fighting with ICASA, and ICASA, I don't know what happens there, you know. I mean, every time anybody vaguely intelligent at ICASA puts their head up, they get hired by the mobile networks.
Yes, true,
I'm sort of generalizing a bit. It's not an easy regulatory environment, but one must say that one of the best things that ever happened in South Africa was that the regulatory requirements or regime was designed in such a way that the profitability of the industry from the beginning was good. That's why we have a very successful and well-developed network.
Yes.
So it's a success story. It's not a bad thing that has happened in this country. Will they be able to maintain the same kind of strength and profitability in the future?
So that is the key question. And just because you had this conducive environment from the regulators to allow you to build out, be very profitable, reinvest those profits to build out the network even further, should that be a benefit for you till the end of time? Or at some point does that end, and should that end? And that's where we are now, that the regulators are saying, you've had your 20 years of high profitability. Now it's time to open the network for everyone, allow the OTT players in. And if that is the case, then similar to the US and other markets where it's happened even more intensively,
but forgive me if I'm going to seem a little cynical here, but we know that the government department can't organize its way out of a paper packet. We know that ICASA is useless. We know that all it takes is to invite a couple of those guys to the final of the MTN 8 and feed them a whole lot of chicken. Then you can do what you like.
Sure, I don't know. I don't think it's quite. I hear you from a cynical point of view.
I mean,
you
I'm
could say
being
that.
slightly cheeky.
Just slightly. Well, what I would say is, if you look at what ICASA is doing with the spectrum auctions, they want to auction spectrum. They want to increase accessibility.
It's a problem.
It's a bottleneck, but it also can be auctioned at a high price, so that goes to the fiscus. And secondly, that also means that the networks are incentivized to build it out to make a return on that. But it does mean that it could be a high cost for people to access that network. And you've got a difference between what the Minister of Communications is saying versus what ICASA is saying. So it's a minefield in terms of the regulatory environment, and that makes me a bit concerned about the future profitability of these companies.
And so,
if you say it's a mature industry, everyone that needs a cell phone has a cell phone, sure, they can upgrade, but
everybody who needs a cell phone's got a bad cell phone. They must get a better cell phone.
Yes, but they're paying high voice rates on the bad cell phone, and
but
they might
nobody
pay
uses
cheaper rates
voice
on
calls anymore.
Well,
what
that
kind of
shift
people
is
make
happening.
voice calls?
Maybe not in Tanzania, Paul, but in the rest of South Africa, most people are still mostly voice, and there will be a shift in revenues from voice to data. What I'm saying is the absolute value, the ARPU, the value per user being spent on telecommunications, I don't think can increase too much further from where we are now. And within that shift, that's not necessarily profitable for the networks because of the high margins of voice. So I would say, I think it's trading at fair value. 170 Rand was too expensive. 150 is around fair value, but not hot for me.
Okay, I'm going to go hot anyway. Damn. I think these guys are still going to be making a lot of money. We've heard about these stories for a while.